Peace, this is Jarrell with Quantum Light Cosmos. Today I want to talk about the heart. I want to talk about getting into the heart, living from the heart, being and existing from the heart, and the things that are involved from that. Alright? So, the heart is very, very conscious. It's a multidimensional place that exists outside of time, inside of yourself, as yourself. And when you're in that place, you exist there as who you are on an eternal level, on a most fundamental level to the core of who you really are. And when you're there, you see the truth of who you are. You see your true form. You see your true energy. You see how you are. You see the archetype of who you are, along with the archetypical patterns of your beingness. So this is a very amazing area to look at and learn about and to retain knowledge about, because it's the basis of being in Ascension. It's a basis of learning and evolving and developing yourself. You always want to start with the heart and be with the heart and learn from the heart and exist from the heart. Like, why? Because that is the basis of humanity. That is what a human is. When you are developing in a womb, you start out as a pulsing heart, literally, a pulsing heart, and then the rest of the body folds and spins and develops out of that pulsing heart around it until the heart develops in the center of your being. And if you look at the universe is a giant heart. That's literally what the universe is. It's a giant heart, a giant living, multidimensional, cosmic, ever-evolving, eternal source being in the shape of a heart, in the shape of a torus, in the shape of a sphere. So when you understand the heart as who you are, as the universe, as yourself, existent throughout space and time, only in the now, eternally, you start to understand and feel and exist and see from there, and listen from there, and be from there. That's the most important, being there in the heart as much as you can, at all times preferably, which is what your higher self will tell you. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about getting into the heart. We're going to talk about living, being, and learning, and existing from there. So let's get started. So there are multiple ways on how to get into the heart. Most people are walking around in their day-to-day. Their awareness of where they're located with their vessel is usually like somewhere outside of their vessel. It's usually somewhere like out here, or worse. Or it's like out here, and they're kind of just walking around, just being controlled. And, it is what it is, yet it's kind of like, you want to understand that you have total control of your mind, over your emotions, over your actions, over your words, over how you feel, over how others make you feel, over how you are, over who you are. That's the very most important thing you probably learn when you're living here on this planet. So when you are looking at the heart and the heart space and where your existence is, or where your awareness is, you want to understand where you are right now. Usually when you go to work or you go to school, or you do whatever you have to do every day, you're more or less in your brain. You're kind of just using your brain. You're using it every day to get you through your everyday circumstances to where you can survive and you can live and you can have a good life. You can have a house. You can have a social life. You can have a family. You can have resources to live and do things, so you can drive a car, and get places, or you can, ride a bike, or whatever, however you get around. You need to understand that the brain is also very important. The brain is like a secondary mechanism of the heart. When you get into the heart controls the brain. So upon getting into the heart, you have to learn how to do a lot of things over again. For me, I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to talk again. I had to learn how to breathe properly again. I had to learn how to hold my body proper again with my body posture and my spine alignment. All these things are adjustable when you get back into the heart. So what's most important is that you know when you're more or less in your brain and living from an intellectual level. One thing that is for sure, living from the heart doesn't mean that you change who you are at all. It doesn't. It means you get more into who you are. It means you understand the core of who you are, and then you start to balance and resonate and adjust and balance and exponentially grow and continue to resoundingly reverberate your core resonance of who you are on the inside outwards, so you become a more of a balanced being, more balanced than you could possibly have ever imagined. You know, it's like, you know, you become more of a god or goddess, literally. You be able to walk in multiple worlds at once, and then you begin to be able to show up in the world just like you're anybody else. Okay? It's not like this sad starseed stories where it's like, oh, I'm alone, I'm here, I'm too sensitive to do anything. I can't show up outside because once I show up outside, I'm too drained. People drain me. I'm too sensitive for this world. When will I go home? You know, it's none of that. It's none of that at all. It's you become strong enough to be yourself and hold your own while you're communicating and being who you are outwardly, confidently, in your own strength and in your own presence, in your own existence, while you are learning and growing and developing in your own balance in the outside world, while you're holding your entire inside world inside you, still, you know, being there, present eternally as who you truly are. So that's really like the positives of being in the heart. You know, being in the heart is a very, very powerful thing. It's something you want to master. It's something that you want to understand how to do. It's something that you want to understand how to get into and stay into. You know, you want to be in your heart at all times. That's like the ultimate goal, for me at least, is to do that. So, you know, once you do that, it's like nothing can touch you. You are unstoppable. You are limitless. You can kiss stress goodbye. You can kiss mental illness, not even a chance ever. Never was a chance. You can kiss depression goodbye. You can kiss anything that's dissonant to who you are, that comes from somebody else, any type of sickness or mental disease, out of your way, out of your system, because you're in your heart. Nothing can touch you, because anything that is not you, just you're literally in your own inner space looking at it, and then you remove it. You literally see the thought forms come, like literally towards you, and you're like, what is this? That's not mine. Remove. And that's it. So there's multiple ways to get into the heart. The way I learned was with the Merkaba. All right, I learned this from a teacher. His name is Drunval Melchizedek. He teaches you how to leave the brain and get into the heart, and spin your Merkaba so you're connected with the earth under you, Mother Earth, and the stars above you, Father Sky. So doing that literally will change your existence. It'll change the depth of your existence. It will magnify you as a light being and as an energy being, and expand you on the inside, so where you see and feel, and you are currently, presently, 100% aware of a world inside you just as expansive as the world outside of you. You know, it goes on forever, literally. The world inside you goes on forever. The world outside you literally goes on forever. So it's the same thing, and you'll realize that, and you realize that you're an illuminated presence, a spherical illuminated presence in a sea of infinity that expands eternally in a fractal. Your sphere expands eternally, and the sphere outside you expands eternally. So when you get into the heart, you get into that fractal presence. You get into that space of coherence and oneness. You get into that God space, because you are God or goddess. So let's talk about getting into the heart. Okay, so you can do it with the Merkaba. You can learn from June Vallow, or you can learn from me. I have a meditation, how to get into the heart, spin the Merkaba. You can use that one, or you can use any method June Vallow teaches. So that's one method. That's a method that I personally used initially, which is what really skyrocketed my development. So a quick overview of that method. Basically what you're doing is you're identifying where your presence is in your body, whether it's out here, whether it's over here, whether it's in your brain, or anywhere. Usually it's up here somewhere, you know? So what you do is find your presence where you're at. Usually, you know, it's usually in your brain. So what you do is you move your presence from your brain to your heart, and then you spin your Merkaba, and then you connect with the earth with your heart, and then you connect with the sky with your heart, and then you spin your Merkaba. It's that simple, and it's very, very powerful. So the second method I've learned is another method that's very similar to the first method, except it makes it more of a physics process from going from the brain to the heart, because sometimes people have trouble getting into the heart, moving their presence from their brain into their heart, because it's like people have problems controlling their brain, and so this makes it easy, like a physics level thing. So another way is to kind of like picture your awareness in your brain spinning counterclockwise downward into your heart, and it's like you can do that. After you do that, you refer to the first method, which is connecting to the earth with your heart, and then connecting to the sky or the sun with your heart, and then spinning your Merkaba, you know? So the third method, which was recently just discovered by me, just by integrating with my higher selves, conversing with them, having my higher selves in my body, and just really walking around, asking my higher selves, asking them questions, and feeling how it is to be them as their energy body. So I learned this method from my Lyran, who is one of my higher, very high versions of self, from the Lyran constellation, Lyra, a humanoid lion being. So Lyrans have very large hearts because they hold a lot of unconditional love, and they're one of the largest beings on the soul stream. So when I was working with my Lyran, basically what he showed me was his head is like, so this one may be a little advanced for this video, yet I'm going to tell you anyway. So his head is like a broadcast beacon for his heart. So he exists in his heart. His heart is huge, and his head is like the broadcast sphere for that, the broadcast node for that, if that makes any sense. It's a very, very like scientific rendition of like existence as an ancestor who is directly connected to their own DNA cosmically. So this is the best way I can put my visualization into words, because it's very, very like higher level. When he feels from his heart, he literally has wavelengths that come off of his entire body that also come off of his head. So when his head like moves, his entire energy sphere moves, because he's actually seeing from the heart through his head, through his eyes, which is the same thing that you will experience when you get into the heart. You'll start to see from the heart, and when you see from the heart, you realize, hey, wait, when I close my eyes, I'm actually seeing from the center of my chest. I'm seeing from here, and my eyes are just viewing, and I'm kind of like this amazing fractal being who is a multidimensional vortex, a spiral vortex that's spinning very fast in their own body, in the etheric realm. So when you figure that out and you integrate and interact with your higher selves and they layer over your body, you start to understand more of how they can feel and perceive and exist on such a high level to where it's like no problem to them. Your higher selves are looking down at 23 dimensions, and they're looking at higher selves under them who are your higher selves, who are their kids, and they're managing all of it with no problem. They're on a golf course somewhere, and their fractals are literally coming down to each whenever they need them to help them with their lives. And when you call your higher self, they're there with you, helping you with your life. You'll start to understand your head as a beacon of light, as a sphere of light. Kind of like, how Buddha has a sphere around his head, or like a ring, like a sphere of light, that sphere of light, or like a ring. That ring is actually a sphere of light, which is behind his head, which is actually what seems to be behind his head, which is actually a sphere around his head. So when you have a sphere around your head, that means like you're enlightened, you're living from your heart so much that a sphere has surrounded you as light, as yourself, and you begin to perceive from there. So there's a sphere around your head just showing that. Alright? So a sphere of light is a sun, and if you look at a sun, you understand that the sun is electric, and when you have electricity moving, those are like, currents. They're currents of electricity moving from the center outwards, and, like ball of electricity. The sun is like a ball of electricity. So when you have electricity, you have currents that are moving like outward from the center, alright? So it's like the same with you when you're in your heart. You have spherical electricity moving outwards from the center, and when you live from there, you begin to perceive from there, and as you perceive from there, you start to be able to exist as that. So that starts to replicate through your brain. Have you ever seen like a cosmic being with long hair? It's because hair is power. Hair holds memory as light. Hair is like, it can be like strands of light. It can be like experience. It holds a story. It holds like a resonance, So use your hair. Or if you don't have long hair like me, understand how hair works. Understand how it works. Understand a period. Understand the feeling of having long hair. Remember back to a period of your life when you had long hair, and then be able to utilize it in your energy field. So this other way of getting into your heart and using your brain as a resonance beacon for energy cascading out of your heart through your brain is like powerful, and you realize like why a lot of yourselves have long hair. A lot of my higher self have long hair. Like my angels, a lot of my angels, almost all my angels have at least shoulder length hair. My Lyran has very long hair, like down to his back. You'll realize like why your higher selves have like this like warrior style hair, this tribal hair. It's because hair holds memory. Hair is powerful. Hair it allows your presence to be magnified. So I just wanted to talk about how to get into the heart today, and how to utilize the ways of getting into the heart and being present in the heart, because it's so important, especially during these times where everybody doesn't really seem to know what's going on. Everybody wants to be triggered immediately over what somebody said over mainstream news and start going to violence based off of the lies they've been told. So it's just like you really need to understand that the heart is your truth, the heart is your center, the heart is the place where you want to be because it's who you are. On a cosmic level, on a personal level, on an existence level, on an emotional level, on an experience level, it's got everything. Your past lives, your present, your future, everything. It's in the heart. So peace and love. If you guys would like a session, I do sessions at quantumlight.org. I do intuitive reading, intuitive coaching, Lightcode, Attunement, custom art, everything on there. I also have a t-shirt line, clothing line, empathlead.com. Check that out. Also, I do orgonite, custom orgonite totems, and devices like pyramids and sacred geometry for your house to protect your house from the harmful EMF frequencies going through the homes from electric companies and internet companies. So check those out if you would like to protect your home and protect yourself. So peace and love. I'll talk to you soon.